Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
I'm speaking this morning with Dubbo Regional Council Mayor Matthew Dickerson. And Matthew, this morning, first up, we're talking about 1 million attendees through Dubbo Regional Theatre and Convention Centre. That's a milestone.
It is an incredible milestone. 23rd of July 2010, we officially opened the theatre. And there was a fair bit of discussion and debate, maybe even a bit of controversy in the Dubbo community when we talked about that theatre, because we had to put through a special rate variation, 5% over 2 years. We had to increase the rates by to be able to pay for that. And then we opened that, and not everyone was on board because no one likes a rate rise. But it's pretty fair to say that now that is a very valuable asset for the Dubbo community. 1 million attendees in 14 years is pretty impressive, over 70,000 a year going through there. But the other thing that I like about it, Nathan, is that if we look at last financial year, for example, 35.4% of people that went through the Dubbo Regional Theatre and Convention Centre came from outside the Dubbo Regional Council LGA, which really says that it's almost a tourist attraction in its own right. People travel from across the region, attend a show, go to some event, function there, and then they might stay at a motel, they might go to a restaurant, they might do some shopping while they're in Dubbo. So it's definitely attracting people to Dubbo.
Very good. All right, there's been an announcement from Rose Jackson.
This is exciting. When you go back a couple of years ago, one of our councillors brought forward a notice of motion, Councillor Matt Wright, brought forward the idea of reserving some land for 3D printed housing, which was all a bit new and interesting in the discussion. And then we progressed it last year when we had a toilet block that was due for replacement. So we used the 3D printing concept to build that new toilet block. So that was the first piece of government infrastructure in the nation built using a 3D printed concept. So that was quite revolutionary. And we talked to the state government about this concept because we think it can be a great solution to help deliver more homes into the state because we've got a housing crisis. So Rose Jackson, the Minister for Housing, last week announced the very first social housing project that's using a 3D printing concept. So that'll be built in Dubbo. 51 Ronald Street is the address for that particular place. But this is a significant change for Homes New South Wales, the department that delivers social and affordable housing across the state. They want to use Dubbo as their first. They want to build more in Dubbo, but more across the state. So expect to see many, many more 3D printed homes across the state, Nathan. And it all started very first here in Dubbo.
All right. Now, you've met with the Premier and spoken about Rex Airlines.
We spoke about a couple of things with the Premier. We really wanted to make sure that the Premier was across some regional issues, and two of those regional issues, certainly one is transport and making sure we've got good transport links. It wasn't just about Rex, but obviously the fact that Rex is currently in voluntary administration means that was certainly a topic of discussion, but it was more about just the viability of regional airports, making sure we've got good transport links. Regional locations really struggle if we don't have good transport links. So just making sure the Premier fully understood how important regional airports and how important regional transport is to make sure we've got linkages through to the city. We also spoke about housing, that we are in a housing crisis across the state. The Premier did make mention of the fact that some people are leaving New South Wales just because they can't find housing. So for the Premier, it's certainly a big issue as well. We did talk about the 3D printed housing concept and the fact that their government's moving ahead, which is very exciting. So really just wanted to make sure that Premier was across a couple of very important regional issues and other minor ones as well. We talked about lots of things to talk about with the Premier, but they were the main two things we wanted to focus on.
All right, and we've also had the ASX 200 series.
This is an exciting series. It started way back in 2014. We ran it 2015, 2016. Then after the amalgamation, it fell away to a certain extent. But we've revived the series. So this is called the Dubbo Business Chamber ASX 200 CEO series, brought to you by Qantas. And the idea here is that we invite CEOs of various ASX 200 companies, and they come out to Dubbo, speak at a Dubbo Business Chamber breakfast, impart some of their knowledge and basically give people in the room some ideas how to run their business better, but also give them confidence that an ASX 200 CEO is prepared to come to Dubbo and speak to us. And it kicked off again. This is series 2, if you like, part 2. Then this kicked off last week at the Lazy River Estate with the Dubbo Business Chamber, and the CEO of QantasLink came along, Rachel Yangowan, and she spoke to us about Qantas Link, and just about some of her experience to get to the point where she's now CEO of QantasLink. It wasn't just because Rex has had their issues lately. This was booked in many months ago, but it was quite timely with the issues that Rex have had lately. This is a series that you'll see a different CEO come along basically every month and speak to a business breakfast in Dubbo. So a very exciting series.
All right, and Matthew, you've also been getting active.
Indeed. I spent the weekend in Sydney running in the City to Surf, an incredibly well-organised event. 90,000 people or thereabouts lined up, went through the start line, ran the 14 kilometres, got to the finish line. I've run it before and I've been very impressed every time just how well organised that event is, especially considering just the traffic closures. I was thinking about it with my council hat on, thinking, wow, all the traffic closures they had to do, all the paperwork I had to get right to organise this event. So ran it again. I normally do it to a bit of a family event with the kids, but I also am claiming, Nathan, and having to be questioned by anyone here, I'm claiming that I won my category. Now, the category is fairly specific, the Mayors category. So of all the 537 mayors across the nation, I'm claiming now self-created category as the fastest mayor in the nation.
Well done to you. Well, thank you so much again for your time, Matthew. It's been a real pleasure, as always.
My pleasure always, Nathan. Thank you very much. Talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.